Hello everyone and welcome back to Aarklash Legacy. Sadly this is post-commentary for the next two episodes, so this one and the next one. I unfortunately didn't record audio. I did record it, but my microphone was plugged into the wrong USB, so it didn't recognize it as the same device and just didn't go very well. So I'm afraid post-commentary for this kind of game is not ideal. But what can you do? I've got the game audio, so obviously it's not too bad. Here we were being ambushed ever so slightly by a flesh spectre. I think I just decided that I probably don't have time to interrupt that spell. I probably would have actually, but it's okay. I just moved Knocker out the way. So yeah, the quality of my commentary won't be ideal during these episodes. I didn't have a save early enough left so that I could replay the bits, sadly. It's a little unfortunate, but what can you do? Here I was using Death Push quite a bit. I really do enjoy that skill. It has a nice area of effect and works very well, especially if you have a trashed mobs, which are, to my mind, the main problem in the game. At this stage I just had Knocker deal with the single skeleton back there and had the rest of the team focus on the Spectre. He was probably the most problematic enemy in this fight. And there's Knocker done with her problem. And there we go. I believe I just junked these items. I made sure no one had any really bad relics, amulets, and then just trashed them. And then of course we got skill points. And you just have to wait a little after combat for the game to notice there's no more combat. I improved Obscure Blood even more, which increases the healing. More health drained and more healing on activation. Denzel improved his Whirlwind of the God Rat, so that the armor bonus works on magic armor as well as physical armor. If I take long breaks, that's usually when I explain things. I just don't know exactly when I explained what anymore, so yeah. Here I would have had the choice between making the Death Wish a channeled health drain or just improving it further along the current functionality, and I choose to improve it further. I don't like channeled abilities at all in these games. I don't really know why, it just seems like I'm wasting 10 seconds doing that one thing, and I could do other things instead. And now there was nothing for it, we had to go into the huge bone arena. Here you see my first save, which obviously overrode. No, that one didn't override the backup yet. The next time I save I will basically override the possibility to go back. So here we have a kind of arena fight thing. We can leave this arena, and the problem with these two mages is that they are just far enough apart from each other that I can knock them down both with a single escape. So I did manage just in time to get Nella close enough to both of them though, and just to interrupt them individually. It's a little bit chaotic, this fight, because you obviously start right in the middle of the enemy group, so you don't really have the option to send your tank in first. And also because I've changed the my configuration, I'm now recording to a different hard drive than the one the game's running on. I have noticed significantly improved frame rates in my recorded file. So before I sometimes dropped down to maybe 20 FPS, and that's no longer happening. I'm now almost consistently at 30 FPS. And I wasn't really paying too much attention, so Knocker had taken a fair amount of damage, and so had Leglorus. The problem is Leglorus has no physical armor, that's his disadvantage, and one of the enemies just targeted him, which wasn't fun. Aside from that though, I now, because I moved my tank, the skeleton mages came closer together though, so I think I'm in range to interrupt both of them now on Nella. And here I decided to let my tank and Wendiru attack the stronger skeleton, so that I could use the weaker one for a death wish before it died. And as you can see, Leglorus really can't take very much damage. You have to keep him out of trouble. When you do though, he's incredibly strong, and that's a death wish triggering at very, very good potential. Go, interrupted both of them again. Not a problem. Leglorus needed another heal, but I think everyone who had actually targeted him is now dead. So I was focusing on one of the mages and put Nella next to the other one to interrupt him just in case. And I decided to finish off the archer with Leglorus. Using Death Wish here for the taking damage, not so much for the death explosion. And there we go. That's that fight kind of done.
Who stole my kill?
Sorry, pup. Let me give you a hand with these skellies, alright?
Who are you calling pup? You runt?
And there's the second one, of course. And we just met a new wield sword, who's not in our team yet, but he will be very soon. Who seems to be a sort of Scottish dwarf. And I mentioned that at a later stage. It's really cool how in this game you don't have your standard gang of human heroes. You really have a just thrown together bunch of misfits. Everyone's different. I mean, Nella's kind of human, but that's about it. Knocker's some sort of genetically engineered mining servant thing. Wendiru is... we don't quite know. I think a Wolfen is the name. Leglorus is just a spirit. I think Denzel's some kind of goblin or... yeah, probably goblin. And then there's that dwarf. So really very... very cool. It's just a nice change to have it be a little different. I'm currently watching a Baldur's Gate playthrough from someone, and that's a great game. But it would have been, I don't know, I think I might have liked it even more if I'd been able to play a more varied amount of races. And they do have different races, but just... I've never seen a game where it's been quite so varied as in this one. At least I've never played one myself. And we can see our dwarven friend occasionally firing shots from the side into the ring. And sadly that death wish did not trigger in time.
noble power of the land, come to me!
And that skeleton was about to attack Rendaru, so I had to taunt it away. And then get a heal off on Nella.
What would you do without?
I really don't like doing post-commentary, by the way. There's some video series that I do it unintentionally, but usually it just... I don't like the way it works. Firstly, it obviously, instead of taking me one 20-minute time slot to produce an episode and the rest is mostly automatic, it obviously takes me twice as long because I have to record the audio separately. Which is not so nice. I had to taunt that skeleton again. As I said, these trash fights are usually the most interesting. These arena ones in particular are fairly nasty in some ways. They tend to hit you quite unprepared, and then in addition to that you just don't always have the movement freedom that you have in the open field. And if you're unlucky, the enemies might all not target your tank. Because there's no... I mean, the tank can taunt, obviously, but there's no inherent reason why the tank would get more aggro. Usually because the tank's running in the front, that's what happens, but I don't believe that Knocker has some sort of inherent property of taking more damage somehow. Of taking more aggro. And of course, if my other party members are doing too much damage, then aggro will easily jump. And once the enemies were defeated, of course.
Nella! Denzel! You're alive! I was beginning to think that I was the only wheel sort to escape Alahan.
Friends! I too am happy to see you. But you said the only survivor? What happened to Tinnaman and the others?
Tinnaman took a bolt to the eye, trying to shield our patron, Tolly. Jorup and Miller were cut down as we ran. The guild has been condemned by Alahan, and the knights are not taking prisoners.
I'm sorry. We do like morning shadows are chased by the light. And Tole, your patron?
Dead by the lion. He'd been told by the others to meet at the hold in Acheron, if they could make it.
Huh. Who's the dwarf?
He's a brother and a friend. His name is Friends. We spent 3 years in the same corps together, with Denzel and Tinnaman.
Welcome, friends. I mourn for your loss.
No time to mourn, lass. We must press on.
Yeah, the arena obviously reopened and we've got a new party member, so we have to go through the motions now and read out all his stuff. Yeah, I don't quite know. Did I do skill points first? I think this is where I was talking about how everyone was so different. Post-commentary is weird, I tell you. Okay, I improved Nella's lightning ability to to now propagate. It now hits 2 enemies, essentially. It's quite nice. It's just a cool little addition to damage. And on Wendoru, I improved the Star of Vitality. I know I'm hovering over that one, but I did improve the Star of Vitality. I now made it so that it passes through units and heals all units in a straight line. It heals both friends and enemies, but a few upgrades later it will only affect friends, but still fly through stuff. It's really good. And I believe, if I remember, next time I might actually just reallocate skill points so that I get the only hits allies feature straight away. There, I need 2 more upgrades. I can just take 1 point out of the Sacred Feast and the Seed. Anyway, Frinz obviously has no skill points yet, but here's his biography. Frinz worked his way into the Goldmonger's Guild as a wheel sort by not paying his debts. He had a rather costly addiction to invention, and the sums spent on his machines and devices cost him his freedom. Most were designed for killing, though there were a few made for less noble purpose that all interested the patrons. Frinz had been warned by members of his dwarven family, friends and clan on countless occasions never to contract any debt to the guild, but his passion for making things got the best of him. Surprisingly, the collateral collection went quite peacefully, and was not even extracted by a wheel-sword corps carrying a death threat. Frinz was simply asked to serve the guild as a wheel sword, with an immediate silver link, for so long as everything he invented going forward belonged to the goldmongers, up to the day he'd earned a gold. Resources were provided and his debts erased. Frinz has never been happier and couldn't have thought of a better arrangement for his addiction by himself. Okay, I think the first time through I made some mistakes reading that, so I had plenty of time now. He's kind of your dwarven mechanic madman. And his advantage is that he reduces his attack cycle by 0.1 for 5 seconds on each attack he makes, so if he's continuously attacking, he's attacking faster and faster. His weakness is he cannot critical. I must have been really slow reading this the first time through. And then as for his abilities, he has a high damage kind of sniper shot, doing 600 physical damage. Again, it's like a targeted thing like the Star of Vitality, so I have to be careful not to hit my own guys. And then he's got an ability that reduces physical armor of enemies I hit for 10 seconds. And the other 2 obviously weren't unlocked yet. And then I just did some switching around to get Wendoru back in the support position. I just like her to stand back there, and I switched out Legloris, so I'm running Nokka, Nella, Wendoru and Frinz now. Legloris will still gain experience while he's on the bench, essentially, as will Denzel. So I just wanted to switch it out a little bit without changing too many characters, which would have probably weakened me a little. And yeah, here we were being just attacked by some demonic satyr and a reaper, I think. And then there's a few more enemies joining in. We will encounter this more and more actually throughout the game. Some enemies are not just standing in a fixed location, they're patrolling. So if you're engaging them in a non-smart way, I guess, it can happen very easily that you start fighting a group and then another group joins in and another joins in, and it can get very hectic and fatal. So it is on occasion smarter to try and pull enemies back a little. And you can see the shot that reduces armor has really low range. You can improve that later on, obviously, but for the moment it's got a really low range, and it pierces enemies, so it can hit multiple in a row if they are standing correctly. But yeah, especially if I remember which locations these are, or if I die and then have to reload and get back to them. There are some locations where it's incredibly advantageous to pull enemies Okay, this ring was kind of useless on him because of the critical hit multiplier, which is useless to someone who can't crit. So I just decided to give it to Enderu, because she can use the healing done bonus and she can crit at least. And then I just junked the other ring, because it wouldn't be very good for Prince either. And then down there's another group of enemies, again a Reaper and a whatever the other one is. Reaper Priest. And a Demonic Satyr actually, okay. Now the sniper shot is not piercing, it only hits one enemy. But if it hits, it does a tremendous amount of physical damage. In terms of just pure damage, it's definitely better than the lightning, for example.
No more.
As a pointless amulet, but I got a new one for it. Again, this, as I said before, this game suffers from similar problems as the original Diablo 3 before it was all patched and stuff. You get so many cross-character attribute things, where the magic damage would obviously be useful on Nella, but it would also need mana regen to be really good for that, and the healing received is not really useful for Nella that much. So it's just it's just kind of unlucky that on occasion you get these items which are so cross-character that they're not very useful anymore. Okay, but I think this was the episode, so I hope you enjoyed even though it was post-commentary, and I do hope to see you again very soon. Bye bye!